Hi, welcome to episode 148 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laurel, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you want to come over and check it out, please do. Excuse me, I apologize. Just as I started the intro, my throat caught and I was like, oh, I got a cough. So hi, how are you? It is Sunday, August 6th. It is about noon and I am sitting in my craft room with all kinds of crafty goodness to talk to you about. You haven't missed it. I am wearing a sweater, which is fabulous. This weekend has felt like fall. I'm sure we still have more summer to come before us, but this weekend has been in the 60s and rainy, and it has felt downright fallish, and it has been a nice break from the heat. The last week or two have been cooler, but for a couple weeks we were well into the hundreds. So this weather is very nice. Like I said, it's still the beginning of August. I suspect we still have more heat waves to go, but this has been very nice. So I was chilly. I grabbed a sweater. Yesterday I wore wool socks, which was awesome. And I made a cup of hot tea today because it has been nice and chilly. And of course that means that I am starting to think about fall and sweaters, and socks and all kinds of good things. Usually around August, usually when it's still quite warm. This is completely abnormal for us. Usually when it's still quite warm, somewhere in August, my sweater bug kicks in, that fall is coming and that it is time to start knitting on sweaters. And of course I am knitting a sweater right now, although it is a lightweight cardigan, so it will not be good for the fall. Well, it'll be okay for the fall, but it won't be great for the winter. But I am starting to think about all the sweaters that I want to knit and putting things in my queue and trying to think about sweater quantities that I own and sweater quantities that I would like to buy. And so it's been kind of a fun week for that. I hope that you have been having a good week. If this is your first time checking me out, welcome. I hope you enjoy. If this is you're coming back, thank you for joining me today. I hope that I'll talk about some fun things. So let's get into the podcast. I always start with tea. Today I am drinking Glow Cloud. This was named, it is a fandom tea inspired by Welcome to Night Vale, which is a podcast. And it is from Adagio Teas, and I really liked the tin and ordered a big tin of it. And Glow Cloud has mandarin green, white peach, puer dante, cranberry, orange peels, and hibiscus. And it smells absolutely delicious. I of course have drunk this before. I've owned this for a while. And this is in a pottery mug that I believe I got when we went through West Virginia several years ago. We stopped at there was like an arts and crafts center, and we stopped mostly for a pit stop, but I wandered through and found this great mug. So yeah, that is what I'm drinking today. And it is so great. The last couple weeks have been so warm that I've just done ice water with a tea bag in it. And so I am looking forward to lots more fall and getting back into tea a lot. So yeah, so let's go through the knits. I believe these were not finished when I showed them to you last weekend. I believe all I needed to do was do the final short row heel that I used the Smooth Operator heel sock pattern for. If you remember, I knit the first of these a while ago, and so I just had to knit the second one, which is why I have a second finished pair in rapid succession. I'm calling these after the Storm socks. It's a little hard to tell. The yarn is Everyday Fingering by On the Round. It's got a dark kind of stormy blue, slate blue, and then it's got little splotches, little speckles of color like a rainbow. And then I used my Knit Picks Stroll in navy. It looks like black, but it's actually navy for heels, cuffs, and toes. And I finished these and can't wait to wear them. So I've been calling these my After the Storm socks, which is the colorway. So that is what I've got going on there. And that is another pair of socks for Sock It to Summer. That's the third pair that I finished. That is the Sock Knitting Over the Summer, which is always run by Amanda, who has not a podcast, and she is wit on Ravelry, and she always runs a Sock It to Summer. Excuse me. And so I am submitting, that's my third pair, and I'm hoping to get one more pair done. It runs until August 31st each year. So, let's talk about new things. This week was August 1st, so that means it was time to cast on for my Camp Loopy third project. I showed you the pattern last week. It is the Bentley Cardigan by Marie Green, and it is a top-down raglan with some interesting texturing on the front. And I am doing pretty well. I have probably a half dozen, 8 more rows until I split off for the sleeves. So it doesn't look like much now, but this is how it's knitting up. The back is stockinette, and then the front has this great little, she calls it the wildflower stitch detail. Let's see if I can show this to you. You might be able to see it a little bit. You may not. I may have to wait until I get a little further along, and the blocking is just like a little gathered stitch, and it's very pretty. And so I am enjoying this. The yarn is Gherkin's Bucket Long Stride Sock, which is her very lightweight fingering, almost a heavy lace weight. And to be honest, it feels to me a little bit like the Woolmize lace weight. I know it's not the same, and I don't want to start a controversy because I know the Woolmize lace weight is a base that is unique to Claudia. She had it specially milled for her, but that's a little bit what this base feels like. In terms of thickness, it's slightly thicker, but it has almost a cottony feel, and it's got a bunch of plies. They're a little bit splitty, so I have to be careful when I'm knitting with them. I'm using a slightly duller needle because I find that sharp needles and splitty yarn make for threads getting caught and split. So that is what I'm doing. Like I said, I started that on August 1st, and I am also almost ready to divide for the sleeves, which I think is a good amount of progress. And I will be taking this one with me, which also reminds me a little bit of a show announcement. I meant to do this up at the top. We are going to be traveling at the end of this week. My husband is running a half marathon in Colorado this weekend. So the podcast will be delayed a little bit. We are driving home on Sunday, so I suspect that I figured I would take the camera with me and tape in a new location, but I probably won't get it processed and uploaded until Monday. So just so you know, the podcast will be slightly delayed, and we are driving, which is a 10-hour trip, 11 hours in each direction. So I will definitely be knitting a lot in the car, and so I'm hoping to make really, really good progress on this one because I need to finish it by the end of the month. So that is that one. The other sweater I have on my needles is a work in progress, and I only bring it because I've done a little bit of work on it. I worked on it last weekend and Monday, kind of leading up into, and actually I worked on it Tuesday as well because I swatched for the Bentley cardigan and had to wait for my swatches to dry. I didn't get on the ball and do that beforehand. So I've been working on the Hitofude cardigan, which is by Hiroko Fukatsu. And what I was going to show you is that I finished the, it's a really interesting construction. If you have knit it, you will know that. And I have finished the first part, mostly. I have one other little bit to do. So the first part you knit a rectangle, and then you sort of fold it in half to make a shrug. And I know I'm giving away a little bit, but you'd still need to buy the pattern to be able to do it. So I knit that rectangle, which is right here, and I finished that portion of it, and then I went ahead and joined for the first sleeve, so that one is done. And then I am in the process of pulling out my, just so you know that I show you things very in progress. I am in the progress of pulling out the provisional cast on for the second part so that I can put the second sleeve together. And then, to be honest, I probably won't do much with this until after the Bentley is done, because that is my goal for the month. But I'm really enjoying this one as well. It's knitting up beautifully. This is Wool Miles Lace Weight in Petite Poison number 5, which is a beautiful kind of dark pink overwashed with some black. It's actually a little bit variegated. It's kind of hard to tell. You might be able to see a little bit there. It's a little bit variegated, but not too much, and I think it will be beautiful. This is going to be another sort of lace weight cardigan. Again, not the most appropriate for fall and going into winter, but I decided I wanted to do it, and who am I to buck inspiration? So I went ahead and cast on for it a month or so ago, and I'm just slowly working my way through it. I hope that I'll finish it this fall, but, you know, it'll be what it'll be. So that is the second sweater that I have in progress, and I have a million more that I want to cast on, and most of them in heavier than fingering or lace weight. I have a great sport weight quantity of yarn, and actually I do have another long sleeve fingering weight sweater I'd like to do, and I'm trying to think. Oh, and I bought a worsted weight sweater quantity at Ply Away this year. And I want to do something with that. So that's 3 sweaters. I probably won't get all of them done this fall. If I get 1 or 2 of them done, that would be great. So that's what I'm thinking about, because now I'm all about the sweaters. After I finished my After the Round socks, I had no socks on the needles, and I needed something for car rides and movies and something else, so I cast on another pair of socks. And actually the day I did this was when my niece and nephew were with us, and we were running out the door, and I didn't have time to wind yarn, so I grabbed something that could be knit from in the skein, and that is I am using West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply. This is in their birds colorways, and this one is peacock. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners. I have actually never used their yarn before, but I have watched as people have used them, and I've bought a couple skeins, but I had never pulled it out to actually use it. So like I said, this is self-striping. It's in one of their bird colorways. It's peacock, and it's got several shades of blue and a couple shades of green, and this is what I have so far, and it is lovely. And I went and found some plain blues in my stash. What's funny is that actually my socks are going to have different heels. I decided that I wanted to do a heel flap and gusset, and I didn't want to mess up the striping, so I am doing a contrasting heel flap and turn, and I went looking for a color that would work with these, and I found several blues in the different shades of blue that are in the sock. So I have one that's super turquoise, and I have one that's kind of teal, and so these socks are going to have slightly different heels, which will probably make me crazy, but I'm doing it for fun, and I'm very type A. I like things to look alike. I like my socks to match for the most part, unless they're hand spun, in which case I understand they're going to be fraternal. So like I will try to start the second sock at the same point and have them look almost exactly the same in the striping, but I don't have enough of any one color to do the heels, so I decided that I am just going to make myself comfortable with the uncomfortable and have them be slightly different heels, and they'll be in my shoes anyway, so it's not like it's really a big deal. But so that's what I have started. I'll probably finish the first one on our trip, and I look forward to showing you that when we return. So that is my 1 FO and 3 whips, and then I have one more thing to show you, and I will be working with this in the next couple weeks. I was contacted by Fairmount Fibers. They are the U.S. distributor for Monostil Uruguay, and they asked if I wanted to try one of their newer yarns, which is called Allegria Grande. Now, if you remember, I knit a pair of socks out of their Allegria base, which is their sock weight base, and it is superwash merino and nylon. and I knit it in that like goldenrod colorway. I can't remember exactly what the color was called, but I knit the Conway socks with the little cables, and I loved those. And so when they asked if I wanted to review their worsted weight, it is basically the same base. It is superwash merino, and it is 75% superwash merino, 20% polyamide, and then it is approximately 197 yards. So it is a worsted weight yarn, and I ordered this beautiful colorway, which is called, I think it's called Tannat. Yeah, Tannat, T-A-N-N-A-T, and it is purple and red and orange and blue and pink. And it is just a gorgeous, gorgeous skein. I'm going to take some nice photos of it. And I was trying to decide what I was going to do with this beautiful skein. Karina Spencer has a beautiful new cowl, but it calls for DK weight and it calls for 330 yards. So not quite enough. I was thinking about purchasing a second skein, but ultimately I still need to knit more winter gear for Roxy. So I was thinking that maybe this would make a really nice hat for her. I need to look at some patterns. I'm thinking maybe a garter hat or something with a textured stitch to sort of break up the variegation so that it won't pool. But I think this would be fun for her because it's just all kinds of cool colors. And it feels great. I, based only on my touching and oohing and ahhing over this skein of yarn, I would totally order a bunch of these again. And to be honest, I may order 2 more skeins of this and do that Karina Spencer cowl because it is gorgeous. I can't remember what it is called, but it's in her Instagram feed this week. It is one of those like combination cowl bandanas. So it comes down into a point, and it's got, she did it in a variegated yarn, and it's got all kinds of texture, and just, it's beautiful. So this very well may be what I order to do that in. So, but for now, I think I'll just do a quick hat for Roxy. So that is what I will be working in, and I hope to come home and show you that. So, quick sip of tea, and then let's go into the spins. So last week I pulled out a braid that had pinks and oranges and reds, and it was from one of my favorite dyers who is no longer dyeing, Maud and Me, and it was New Zealand Polworth. And I spun it up this week, and I was actually surprised a little bit because it had looked a lot more variegated in the braid than it ended up looking in the skein. And I don't know if the monitor is going to do this justice, but it is pinky and peachy and orangey, and it's got a few darker spots, some purple and stuff, and I think the monitor's sort of showing you that. To me, it ended up more as a almost a semi-solid, which I wasn't quite expecting, but it is absolutely beautiful. I am not going to hazard a guess because I do not remember how many wraps I got. Watch, and now I'm thinking about hazarding a guess. I'm gonna say like probably between 3 and 350, probably closer to 3 because it plumped up. And it is Polworth. It is not superwash, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It's pretty soft, and I would totally make socks or some kind of cowl or something fun like that. It is just beautiful. So I will be posting photos. It's still a little damp, so I can't do final weight and measurements probably until tomorrow. So it will go up in the shop this week. So that brings me to what I'm going to spin this week. This was a braid that I actually ordered for Spinzilla, that I ordered for Tour de Fleece and did not actually manage to get to it. It is a braid of Woolly Wonka fibers, and that is my friend and Podlesac, and it is dyed on a mixed merino, meaning there's some black in here, black merino as well. It's basically when they take the merino and they take all different colors and sort of card them together. So some of it's like white or off-white and creamy, and some of it's much darker, browns or blacks. And then she dyed it in these moody colorways. It is called Wine Country. And I don't think the camera is doing it justice. It's like magentas, and it's got some browns and grays, and then it's got these great pops of dark teal. And I think this is going to be kind of a dark and moody braid, but I am looking forward to spinning it because it looks and feels quite lovely. So that is what I will be working on this week. I probably won't finish this by the next podcast. I don't know, because like I said, we're leaving midweek and I'm not going to take a wheel with me. I'm just going to spend my time knitting. So this one will probably only be half finished when I speak to you next time, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll get a bug and I'll spin the singles up real fast and then I can ply them when we get home. So that is what I will be spinning this week. So I think that's enough content for now. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope that you enjoyed seeing what I'm working on. I am enjoying following along with everybody else's crafting. I know a lot of us are in summer now, and so we're still working on lightweight projects, but I'm getting so excited for fall weather and sweater knitting season. So I hope that you are too. I will say until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!